are you, man? It's good to talk to you.
I'm good, good. It's been a crazy day. I don't know if you could say the same for you. Been getting caught up in the news, and I got to distance myself from it because there's a lot of stuff going on. You blink, and something else will, happen. Right? Have you been keeping track of the news? What's going on?
Yeah, I go through phases, man. I I like get really into it, and then I like get really afraid, so I stop for a bit.
Yeah,
You
of
know,
course. With
it's
the with that whole thing, I don't want to get too much into politics, but with that riot, I was telling my family, I had the news on usually in the afternoon, and it started off as like, a protest. I guess a lot of people saw it as that. And then you go on later on in the day and you hear they're storming the Capitol, and you're like, what? What's going on? So, the blink of an eye, anything can change, man.
yeah, dude. It's
Crazy
it's
times, as you always told me, right?
it's crazy times, man. Absolutely. Yeah, man.
But yeah, so anyway, it's been an interesting last year. It's been an interesting start of this year. We're both into film. We're both filmmakers, right?
Absolutely.
And I always wanted to know like your start, like how you got into the business, how you got into this sort of passion, like what made you pursue it.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess I got into the business. Well, I sort of started getting interested in film, sort of in high school, mid high school. I was a musician for a long time, and that was a big passion for me. And I guess the music thing just started to
Captivated you.
fizzle out. Yeah, it was great, and I love music, and I love sort of photography. I love like all those different things, and sort of film was sort of the culmination of all the different art forms, right? So I love the idea that you could sort of pair music and you could pair like sort of photography and videography together, and and writing, and it's sort of the ultimate art form in my opinion, because
Yeah,
you need all the different elements of art to sort of bring it to life, right?
the music synchronizes with the story and just elevates it to a different level. And there's so many, moments in cinematic history where the director has said the score saved the movie. And the first thing I think of is Star Wars. I'm doing that marathon I was telling you about. We were discussing
Right.
with these phone calls, and it's the one thing that doesn't disappoint. Everybody talks crap about how the movies are set up, or maybe they're poorly written, whether it's the prequel trilogy, sequel trilogy, what have you. But I've never heard one person just trash the score. Like that score is impeccable, right?
It's the best, and it's so iconic, and it's always sort of will be recognized like with that movie, right? It immediately brings those images into your head, right?
Of course. Do you prefer like classical music, or are you more like you prefer your movie to have like soundtrack to them, Baby Driver kind of style?
No, I much prefer sort of like a sound, or sorry, like a classical sort of like composed,
Right,
or
right.
like orchestral score. Yeah,
Like each piece of score was made by the same composer, so it's complement. It's like belongs to the same family, like composed. Yeah,
yeah, and I'm
but
fascinated by sort of the different things you can do with the movie score. Like with character as well. Like different sort of thematics for characters, and
right.
how that sort of ties into the bigger plot. And I just think you can really tie it together beautifully with the score at the end.
Yeah, man. Is there any movies at the top of your head that you can think of that the score just took you out of it? I'm trying to think for myself.
Took me out of it.
Yeah, yeah. Are there any ones that like on your list? Because again, man, like I always remember when I, would take these classes. So I mentioned this a lot. I've taken the classes at Rain Dance and Toronto, and it's really helped, you know, get a better grasp on like film knowledge and what makes a great film and things like that. But I always remember them saying, number one, most important thing is a story, but number two, if you don't have a story and you don't, number two is sound. If you have a story, that's one thing, but if you don't have sound, everything can go to waste. And I kind of pair the two. It's interesting you talk about music, is because music aside, even just basic sound can take someone out of a film. If it doesn't the audio doesn't align. I've been in movies where whether it's streaming or whatever have you, where the person I'm watching it with like can't get into it because the words aren't lining up with you know what the dialogue is going on. Like the ADR um,
Right.
was probably not matched properly, right, in editing. So it's just amazing to me that those little pieces are so critical, to making a great film. Do those things kind of annoy you, like bother you when you're watching a film, or do you kind of not notice it?
Yeah, I mean, audio is so essential, it's something that everyone sort of, I don't know, it's easy to look over audio. Even I sort of have, like, made that mistake before, But
Nice.
at the end of the day, like, I don't know, a movie made on an iPhone with, like, great audio is probably more you better odds watching that movie than watching a movie shot on an Alexa, but with, like, horrific audio where you can barely sort of comprehend anything?
No, the film, I'm thinking of the film Tangerine, like perfect example, shot on an iPhone, right? Did it win anything at the Academy Awards? I know it got nominated, but
I'm
the
not
fact
sure. I don't think so.
no, but the fact that it got recognized, I know it made it far, and it was boasted on the idea that you could do anything with an iPhone now. It's a whole movie studio, and that's one of the things I learned myself when I took a filmmaking class at Raindance Toronto. It um, made me realize the possibilities, but also made me realize, stop making excuses. You know what I mean? Like anything, if you
Yeah.
have to tell a story. I remember reading James Cameron's quote. It's like if you pick up a camera, you start shooting, you're a director, right? And it's like that notion of you got to start somewhere, right? So, and the interesting
Absolutely.
thing about you, Eric, is you when we first met, which gives some context, we met at a networking event for Rain Dance, right? It was under in promotion for TIFF or sponsored by TIFF, something to that effect. Can't really remember. And
Yeah, it was at TIFF 2019, I think.
2019, yeah, not so long ago, but been some time. And I remember them talking about, oh no, you were mentioning to me that you were a producer, right? That's how you kind of introduce yourself. You're a producer. And then I find as we, connected more that you're also an actor. And, you've had some pretty interesting roles. So I wanted to get to know, like, how did you get into the whole, like, what made you pursue producing as opposed to any other position, like director or writer? Why producing? Why do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. Yeah, I love producing. I love directing and I love acting and I love, all those things, but,
Hmm.
you know, I'm very fussy about directing and the acting becomes tedious for me. And so it takes me a long time to sort of collect my thoughts on those things and approach something new with them.
Right.
And I love producing because it allows me the opportunity to sort of work with new and interesting, collaborators in between those sort of downtimes when I'm, trying to figure out what my next thing is to, direct, right? And so I'm interested in the film industry because of the collaboration, all the unique people you can meet and
Hmm.
collaborate with. So I
Same.
love producing because it like allows me the opportunity to step into somebody else's world for a little bit with their film,
Right.
and help bring that to life and really be a part of the process and logistically try and figure out how to pull these things off in a sort of like a business sense. I love the film business, the business element of it as
Of
well.
course. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a business with filmmaking. There's always people always have told me there's an art element and there's a business element, and there's a lot of people that I collaborate with that are lean more towards the business side, and
Right.
they enjoy that part about, like, managing finances, but also how we're going to market this. So I always joke around like I'm more the storyteller, I'm more the creative guy, and they're more
Right.
the finance guy. But I definitely have crossed paths um, and gone more towards the business aspect, realizing that the importance of it. That's why I started 94 Productions. You have your own production company, right? Eric
I
Tomj
do.
Productions, right?
Yeah, ET Productions.
ET Productions. There you go.
Absolutely.
So, and yeah, it's an interesting journey. It's an interesting field. I was just thinking today, like, with everything going on with COVID and how it's impacted the industry. We've had similar experiences. We've had these talks before about how, put us in situations where we can squeeze in a project here or there, but for the most part, it's limiting us creatively. But I was also thinking and feeling for people like yourself, like creatives, like because today I had a moment where I was just like not motivated, not energized at all. Do you feel those moments? Do you ever experience them, man?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the worst, man. You know,
How do you
when
handle it? How do you get out of that rut sometimes? Like, for anyone that's listening that might, I don't know, feel like, especially around this time, like there's no hope or there's no way out of like getting out of their head.
Yeah, man, yeah, it's crazy times, man, and they're all like a well of emotions.
I'm putting a lot of pressure on Eric, but
No, man, it's
it's
absolutely, I mean, to get out, like, for me personally, those sort of those down times, I really just try and focus on, like, some form of progression. For me recently, it's been like, the gym, you know, I find like, or it's just putting one step forward or sending one email or something. I find I have to
right.
just, I actively take a step towards my goal, even if the goal seems far away,
Hmm.
in those sort of hard times, whether or not it's like, going and working out and finishing the workout and completing that and feeling like I'm at least getting some form of like moving forward. Because the
Yeah.
worst feeling is feeling stuck, right? Like,
Of course, yeah. Doing something, that's what I always advocate, like, especially with these corner talks, that I started on YouTube, right? Which you've encouraged me to do so, and it's been helping me creatively, like just getting it's an outlet, right? Just getting myself out there, putting something out there instead of, being in a rut or accepting that I'm stuck, right? I
I saw
refuse.
your I saw your art stuff the other day. Is that
Oh,
something
thank
you
you.
do when you feel like that,
Yes.
like,
Yeah,
yeah?
I'm continuing actually tomorrow. I try to do like an artwork or two a week.
Right.
And it's so therapeutic. Like I just get lost. I listen to a podcast, I listen to motivational video, music, whatever have you, and I just get lost. I sketch my favorite characters. As you probably noticed, I talk about my childhood characters, nostalgic characters. I'm not doing Renaissance paintings or anything, but but these characters, they've uh, inspired me when I was a child. At the moment when I was watching them, you know, my favorite characters, what I'm speaking of, guys, is Pokemon, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Star Wars. I'm doing Star Wars sketches, and what it is people might look at them and say, or people that might not watch the show, not maybe not might not understand the characters or why I'm drawing these characters. But for me, when I was 6 years old, when I was seven, I would watch these shows, and I feel like they were just made much differently than they are today for kids. They still at least try. I had this notion. There was a story element. There were some characters that you enjoyed, and there were some arcs. Again, I watched them today. I brushed up on them because I'm curious how they've aged, or how I if I see them the same way.
Right.
And yeah, they have a lot of problems, especially Yu-Gi-Oh. Like things just don't add up, and there's parts where it like just makes me laugh.
Right.
But because I watched it at that age, it's that nostalgic feeling. Like I just get a sense of you know like that warm feeling, and that's with anything, right? It's storytelling can be interpreted different ways. It can affect people in different ways. Star Wars Episode 3, right? We were talking about this the other day. I was talking about another friend on the podcast. We see it very differently, right? But it helps when you saw it, how you felt about it. For me, I saw it when I was 10 years old, right? So it just hits a certain nerve. It stays with me when I watch this video, when I watch that movie. Are there movies that you watch that, are true to your heart or like close to your heart, and people might not think anything of it? Or you just kind of like on a different, I don't know, I'm just curious because I should mention that Rocky, if my friends listening, uh, I never understood it or never really cared for it when I was in my teenage years. I always thought they were cheesy movies, and I watched it during the quarantine. I was just like pumped. I'm like, it hits me different. You're 25 years old, right?
And the
So,
music, dude, and Rocky,
and
like, I mean,
hey,
come on.
the music gets you pumped. The first one I could see why I got like Best Picture and stuff. Like that was a solid like underdog. You know what I mean? Like rising to become the champion. Like I felt that. There's a scene where he's just like punching the wall, and he's just like, "You don't think I have problems? You don't think my life is crap? Well, it is, whatever, right?" And then I love the fact that I fell in love with this character. Like he goes outside, and after yelling at that trainer Mickey, because he thinks basically like he's coming to him just because he's has a chance at making it big. He goes back outside and he apologizes. And I relate to that so much because I've been in that so many situations where I always was the bigger person, or I always felt like I had to be the bigger person, and it always pays off or feels good at least to be the good person, right, in those situations. So yeah, with those Rocky movies, they 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 hit me differently. Obviously, they have their problems, but like I take that with everything. I talked about this with a friend, and I'm sure you can agree with films. Is you got to take it for what it is, right? If you're going into an Adam Sandler movie that's trying to get a Best Picture nominee, I understand people getting pissed off, tearing their hair out. But if it's an Adam Sandler movie on Netflix, just watch it, have a good time and watch it, laugh, and then you shut it off. You know, people going crazy, saying it's stupid, it's this low IQ, it's for people with low IQ. It's just gotta have fun, because not all movies are supposed to stimulate you, right? They're supposed to like engage your mind. Sometimes you just want to turn off your brain and have a good time. Do you
Absolutely.
are there any particular movies that, like, I call them, let's say they're called guilty pleasures? Are there any movies that you can list that are guilty pleasures that we might
Yeah, I
find?
mean, I have a knack for some, like, comedy movies, you know,
Okay.
like, you'll catch me on a weird day watching, Dumb and Dumber or something like that,
Hey,
and
okay, Dumb and Dumber, Jim Carrey, gotta love him.
just totally, like, just yeah, it's like it's a
Yeah.
time, it's a time.
Is your
But
favorite
yeah,
part?
stuff.
Go ahead, go
Sorry?
ahead.
No,
No,
no, you go. It's
I was just gonna mention your favorite part where they dress. My favorite part is when they're in the suits, the blue and the orange, and they just start whacking each other with the sticks.
with the sticks,
'Cause
yeah.
they're impressed, like they're trying to go in, and he gets like jealous, and he just like he winds up and
Yeah,
walks.
yeah. He walks away and then he comes in for the
But he
full
yells,
swing,
he
right?
like
Yeah.
I don't know if he yells a swear word, and everyone just looks at him, and he's like, he just gives them like the salute, like keep going, and then they kill the pigeon with the cork when they
With the cork,
when they
yeah.
open up the champagne. Yeah, that movie is a lot of slapstick, a lot of slapstick. Jeff Daniels, great actor, man, because he's done a lot of dramatic stuff after that, and
They're both great, man. They're
they're both
both
great. But the fact that like Jeff Daniels could pull off that comedic style or match it with Jim Carrey, I know in some interviews I was watching, he was kind of nervous about that,
right.
because Jim Carrey is just out there. Like,
It's crazy, man.
how do you match that? You know what I mean? Like, liar, liar. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But he did a solid job, and they complement each other too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He's got so much charisma, Jim Carrey. It's hard to like,
So much, and
yeah.
because we're on the subject of like these goofy comedy movies, like Happy Gilmore, you know, is
It's a
always a
classic.
go-to, right? Or go-to for Adam Sandler. And then I'm thinking of like a one that it's more recent, but it's been 10 years. Get Him to the Greek with Jonah Hill.
Right.
I watch it, and again, like there's some parts that I just find like really funny, or I don't know why when I first watched, I was dying of laughter, because maybe I didn't know who Russell Brand was, or I just wasn't the fact that Jonah Hill played this straight character, even though
Right.
he's usually the one you laugh at,
Right.
and he was just getting into the most like awkward and gross situations. Um, but yeah, there's been quite a bit of comedies that are just like fun to watch. They're just entertaining, and you just turn your brain off. You have a good time. Taika Waititi, you know, he's a different kind of comedy where it's like actually has a heart to it, like a soul. It's not just turn off your brain. Where the Wild Things Are. Remember I
It's a
mentioned
great
that
one.
to you, right? Yeah, great one, right? So I watched that on Netflix in preparation. So Toronto International Film Festival. For those of you that don't know, I volunteer, and Eric knows my situation where because of COVID, I wasn't able to volunteer this year, and I kind of miss it. Have you ever volunteered, by the way? Have you ever been part of the festival, associated
At
with it? No?
No, I've never volunteered there. I should do that though. That's
Yeah, no, I thought that I just throwing it out there, like especially when things get better, that'd be a lot of fun. I think you'd enjoy it a lot. I
absolutely.
personally enjoy the venue. When I started off, I used to be the marketing distributor, which is basically a guy with pamphlets just throwing out, "Hey, you come to TIFF. TIFF is more than a festival." And they put me on like Spadina Avenue.
Right.
But the following year, I got smart about it, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm just gonna go for the venues."
Did you ever
And
go to like the sales market for films or like anything like that?
sales.
Like, because like the TIFF is great because it's one of the big festivals, and at the big
Of course.
festivals they have this like the market, where they buy and sell films and deals happen and things like that. The films get packaged at TIFF. You'll hear, oh, there's a hot package with so and so attached with this
hmm
director and this script, and
hmm
I love that energy. It's always so vibrant
I've
and
never,
exciting.
I've never been to one, but it sounds really exciting. But funny you mentioned that. I think I might have gotten an interview for a coordinator position in that festival, where because sales, you were saying, like where they package the film and like for distributors. I think it was for Entertainment One. I didn't end up getting that position. I got a marketing coordinator position in a different department, but that sounds a lot more fun being part of the action. Just seeing the process. I think a big thing for me is learning the process of filmmaking not only on the set, but just what goes on once it's done. Like, what do you do with that film, right? And I know you got some experience with that as well. Being a producer, right? You probably had situations where you're trying to figure out how are we making this, how do we distribute it? I remember having phone calls where you provided a lot of insight on, the fact of if a short film, what constitutes a short film, and how much you should invest in a short film, both financially and mentally, creatively.
Right. Yeah.
And you were explaining, like, you don't want it to be a certain past a certain limit. You have to consider, is this a pitch, is this a pilot, right? And those conversations I really enjoy because I gain so much knowledge with filmmaking, right? You
Absolutely.
kind of see what avenue you can pursue with it. And yeah, man, it's an interesting journey. But I'm glad that we're still, because you've been working, you've slipped in some projects in 2020, right? That you've come back from, or you're just kind of waiting on post production, or what's going on? What can you tell us?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of lucked out. I spent the first part of 2020 not doing too much, just sort of in limbo with a lot of things, lots of things
Wow.
ready to go,
Hmm.
but I wasn't really too interested in filming um during COVID. But I got attached to do a short film, which we shot in November in Cambridge called Fire Escape, which should be coming out sort of late spring, which I'm very excited about. Looks really good. We're just sort of in the process, second cut right now, just sort of working a way to edit it, you know?
Hmm. What's it about, by the way, Fire Escape? Can you give us like a brief synopsis?
Yeah, it's sort of the story of a jazz musician who meets a girl in a fire
Oh,
escape,
nice.
and it's sort of their story, and it's a throwback piece, you know. So
Dope.
it's
Like a
4 by 3, and
La La
yeah,
Land
and
kind of
it's
thing, like
a
Damien
little bit,
Chazelle.
yeah, it
Nice,
definitely
nice.
draws some inspiration from there. It's
That's great, man.
Cambridge is beautiful. It's old and sort of vintage in all the right ways. So I'm
Well,
looking forward to it. Yeah.
the authenticity, right? And that's what we were talking about earlier, is just not taking the viewer out. How do you draw them in? And you get the music element. Jazz is beautiful. Speaking of jazz, I watched this movie called Soul on Disney Plus. Did you check it out?
I haven't checked that out, but I'm
Oh,
anxious.
okay,
I'm a
okay.
big jazz guy. So tell me about it. What's your opinion?
Yeah, so I don't want to spoil anything, but there's nothing really to spoil. It's just basically, kind of captures the spirit of dreamers, and what they're kind of chasing. What is the cost? How far will they go? And again, it speaks to me. It was like written for me. There was a lot of scenes where I wouldn't say I cried, or I just felt them. I just got really, um, it choked up. If it hit me in the right place, because it's like these are characters. That's the power of filmmaking. Is sometimes, I guess, you feel like it's written for you, even though it wasn't. But you can resonate, and you see a lot of scenes that just inspire you. I wish I could get more into it, but the overall message is very uplifting and very motivational. It reminds you that there's a bigger picture, and I think we get lost and caught up in a lot of it. I was telling my
Right.
friend today, I'm like, there for the longest time, I would tell people I'm aspiring to be a filmmaker. And I've corrected myself in the last year or so, where I've said I am a filmmaker, because I am a filmmaker. I do everything what a filmmaker would constitute. I'm not making
Right.
$200 million movies, but I own a camera. I've directed my first short film, scripted short film in the summer. I do editing. I do promo videos.
How's that coming, dude? The short film.
The short film is near post production. I think we're pretty much done. We're wrapping it up. We're just kind of figuring out distribution and the film festival circuit. So I'm really excited, man. I was very grateful for the opportunity, for the experience. I'll discuss more when I can, like the details of it, but it was just an exciting venture, man. It was. This is the first time, when I say directed, the first time directed a scripted film. My films before were very like abstract, experimental, like just required music. I required music to tell the story, and this is the first time I actually got to deal with actors, and
Right.
just I saw myself in that light, and the encouragement of my crew and the people around me, my colleagues, made me realize, this is for me. Like, I can be a director. Obviously, there's still practice, still improvement, but the fact that I had that natural ability to just like talk to the actors nicely, like human beings, right? People forget that sometimes they just get right into it. I was watching, funny enough, the Empire of Dreams, the George Lucas documentary,
Dude, that's a
right?
great
Great
movie.
doc,
It's
great.
so good,
And
dude.
and you were and you recommended it to me, so I checked it on Disney Plus, and I have to finish it off actually. But I watched it years ago when I first got that special edition
Right.
Star Wars DVD back 2004. But again, I was a kid, so you got to always refresh it and see if you take the same take it in the same way. And again, as a filmmaker, as someone that is in the industry more than I was when I was 10, I can actually understand what they're talking about, but I can also understand why why they were struggling in the beginning, right? Like for the simplest things, George Lucas, creative genius, did well, executed it beautifully. However, he struggled with dealing with the actors, right? Harrison Ford would say he just wanted him to say that, like just say it like that, just say it like that. And you have to get them to that place. You have to get a performance out of them. And as an actor, you should know, right? Is the director needs to communicate that with you or give you at least a few tries to get that right performance, right? It's kind of like the patience. So that documentary, huge Star Wars guy, and it was very inspiring just to hear how he made it happen. Really badass, in my opinion. I know it's like tailored around like or people associate like George Lucas and Star Wars with geekiness, but I love the fact that he's kind of a savage. Like he basically didn't wasn't getting the projects he wanted to pick when he was pitching Star Wars. It wasn't they didn't really see eye to eye, or he really wasn't like he didn't like the studio system, so he created his own division or his own
It,
company, right? Lucasfilm, and he kind of just created an ILM because the visual effects in the at the time, like the studios that offered it, like the divisions, were shit.
the
Um,
funny thing about like that the whole George Lucas thing with that whole thing,
yeah,
right? Is he's like such a maverick, right? And he was trying so he was such a rebel, and he was trying so hard to fight against the studio system. But his movie Star Wars is the thing that rejuvenated the studio system movies.
yeah,
So it's sort of like this weird like
and
it's a
no,
bit ironic, you know?
honestly, it's exactly he became the very Sith he seek to destroy, they taken from Star Wars. And it's scary, right? In a way, because you see like the prequel trilogy, right? And I know it's his vision. I know that's what he wanted to do. He even said it like they are $200 million independent films. That's how he describes them because he
Yeah.
funded he that's his own money that he put into it. 20th Century Fox just distributed it. But to see how much they became almost like it was part of a machine or part of a committee, like a corporation. And we saw for sure with Disney. I don't even want to go there. That feels like at least with the prequels, like that's why I think I give him more credit and more slack. Is I see that he's trying, like it's someone behind the camera, like it's trying to execute a vision, but maybe rough around the edges. Disney, on the other hand, after Force Awakens, see, Force Awakens got me pumped up. I was ready to go. I thought they were really going to take the story in a unique place, right? The possibilities were there. You never know, right?
Yeah.
And the next the following two films, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, you just realize, wow, this is like a company. Like this is like they probably went through I don't know how many scripts, I don't know how many writers were probably on standby. Like it's just and again, you and I both know with filmmaking you can't do that. It has to be a vision, one vision, right? In
Well, I think
collaboration with everybody else, right?
the biggest thing I noticed with the most recent 3 Star Wars films is that it just didn't seem like they'd mapped it out before they like, I find it's like with all filmmaking, it's in my opinion, it's so important to know what you're doing before you do it, right? So,
Mhm.
like, I know you were speaking a lot about, like, the festivals and distributing and doing stuff like that, and it's really important, in my opinion, to try and, like, figure that out before you make the movie. Like, you wanna know where your movie's gonna fit, where it's gonna go before
Yeah.
you make it as much as possible. So when you do make it, that's not a problem later, and you can also make sure that what you're making is something, that's really sort of gonna have a home, right?
No,
And I think, like
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, no, I was just go finish what you're saying. I'm agreeing with everything you're saying.
Yeah, and I think, like, it comes down to, like, obviously you wanna start with the script at the beginning and be really clear on the script, and I think ultimately that those 3 Star Wars movies, in my opinion, they just it didn't seem like there was they sat down at the start of the process and even mapped out where it was gonna go to the end. Like, it seemed like each film was sort of like a crazy
Yeah,
different direction
they
where
just
none
threw
of
it
them
out
sort of.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, right?
And no, but exactly to that point is, with the what people fail to realize is whether they shit on the prequel trilogy or the sequel trilogy, George Lucas had those films planned out in his head. That's why there's some sort of cohesion. Again, you put it nicely where you're like they're not written the best, but the story is there. It's just not executed properly. And it's right. If you look at it, right, forget the script, but if you just look at it from a story element, you could see like why people gravitate, why there's like, it's a beautiful story, right? Or why I'm intrigued by it. But with the sequel trilogy, like you said, they literally was expected the director to come on board to create the story or continue it. And what they like, I'm really amazed that with these big companies with all the money invested, they don't at least do an outline, like how things will pay off or a second act. And like what baffled me the most though, the thing is people will talk uh talk shit about, The Last Jedi, that Luke Skywalker, he was not the same character that I last saw him, and Daisy Ridley's and Mary Sue. That stuff didn't bother me like as much as, again, back to basics of simple storytelling. Like nothing had consequences, there was no stakes, and in the end, the characters were the same when they left off,
That's
right?
a great point about that movie,
So
absolutely.
so for me, man, it's like I'm not that kind of guy like, oh, like they ruined the lightsaber is technically supposed to be green when he's at the end battle. Like I don't care about those semantics. I care about where are the characters going? Like what's happening? A big example for me, man, is I know the internet agrees with this. When Finn was about to commit, sacrifice himself, right, for the resistance, that
Right.
would have added so much weight to the character and made him so much more memorable than what we got. Rose, knocking his ship and, giving that pathetic kiss. Like, I just, again, story's a big thing for me. Once you get the story down, next you got to worry about the sound. But they got the sound there. At least you know what I mean. You could still watch the movie, but they were missing the story, bro. That was the most important thing for me, man. And
Yeah, dude.
you've told me, man, you've gotten scripts, you've gotten as a producer where it's like you can't even look at them. You don't even know where to start.
That's getting into dangerous territory, dude. I don't know what to say.
No, no. I'm just saying in general, like we've all come across like good and bad everywhere. My writing's not the best either. I've been told many times, revise, revision, go back to it. But there's no excuse for those kinds of films. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like there's a lot of people that needed to check them out and needed to see, what the ultimate plan was. So that's my little rant about Star Wars. I have them from time to time because I just can't believe what happened, what I witnessed.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. I'm in agreement with you on Star Wars.
Yeah. I gotta throw it out there, man. I'm loving the cut. For those of you watching the YouTube video, you'll see what it
Oh,
like you
geez.
got a fresh cut. Mine's like hidden in the hat right now.
Oh, yeah?
It's kind of chilly in the house, but I kind of like to wear the hat. I gotta shave.
You
Gotta
look
trim
good,
the
dude.
beard.
You're
Thanks,
crushing
buddy.
it.
I appreciate it. It's we would joke around when we first connected. What was it, back in September? We had like our quarantine looks. We both had like long ass hair and like our
Oh,
right. Do you
dude.
remember that? I remember your hair was like in front. You were just like brushing it back. You're like, I don't give a shit.
I was looking a little bit horrific, and like they're like
We
I
were
had
just
the
letting
great
ourselves
idea
go.
of being like I was like, "Oh, it's like I'm gonna like make movies when this is over, and I'm probably never gonna get a chance to grow my hair out or grow a huge beard,
Exactly.
and I'm not seeing anyone, so like anyone like outside of my circle of family who's in the house, so I'm like, this is perfect. I'll look ridiculous. And then I did it, and it was I like I take a lot of phone meetings, and I go for walks like
Oh, right,
around the
right.
street
Okay,
all the
nice.
time, and like I'm always on the phone, right? Because like you can't do anything now, obviously.
Of
And like
course.
I just remember seeing people on the walks, and I'd be like, hey, and they'd be like, hey, and it's the same people every day, right? And it just got to the point where I'd be like, "Hey," and they like wouldn't know who it was anymore. It just looked, you know,
Yeah, they
they'd sort of look at me
unrecognizable.
like,
Yeah, like who are you? I've seen neighbor. I was telling my sister, I've seen people walk on my streets ever since this pandemic started, where I say, "Wait, that's our neighbor. Wait, they live here. Wait, how? What? Who's this person? Wait, they had a
"Yeah, dude.
kid. They had a kid. What? When did they have a kid?"
Yeah,
There's just so many people, like, everyone's just coming out, because before everyone was, in their own world, doing their own things, spread out. Now that everyone's home, you kind of see more of your neighbors, which is a good or bad thing depending on, who you're talking to, right? And I'm sure there's people that
absolutely."
don't want to see certain people out there. But yeah, it's so interesting, man. Again, I know people are probably over it and they're like, I'm tired of hearing about COVID, but it's a crazy time, man. I didn't really predict this to happen, and no one did, that is. Um, but yeah, I was thinking of something I forgot, but when you were mentioning about, like, having those phone call conversations and people not recognizing you, it's
Well, it's just like they would recognize me at the beginning,
but
and
yeah,
then as
yeah.
the beer got more ridiculous, I'd wave at them and they just look a bit scared and wouldn't wave back, you know?
I think everyone, every guy listening to this, like, they probably have gone through some quarantine beard, like some kind of, like, it just got Moses style,
I
just
only cut it after
past the
the I
chest.
made that movie, dude. Like
Oh, right, right,
like
right.
when I went out and I did that film, there was all kinds of BTS and promotional stuff, and they were taking photos the whole time. And I got a look at some of those photos of me on the set, and I was like, "Oh dear,
Things got to change. Things
went
got to
straight.
change.
Things got to change. Something's got to happen because I."
What if you should have kept it? What if you were recast as, like, the remake of, like, Ten Commandments?
Well, it was kind of funny. I kid you not. This is a
Yeah,
great
yeah,
point because
yeah.
there was like a point a couple months in where I was like messaging all my writer friends. I was like, "You have anything like The Revenant or anything where like a beard, like Prisoner of War or something, like anything at
Yo,
this point?"
just throwing it out there, you could pull it off, man, because I've like, would you describe yourself more of like a dramatic actor or a comedy? What do you prefer? Or you don't care as long as you're working?
I'm fussy, man.
Oh,
It's
you
all
are
about
fuzzy.
the
Oh, okay. It's all
yeah, I
about the
am
story.
fussy.
It's all about the story.
Yeah, if it's more about if I feel like I can do something interesting with it. If I
Yeah.
can't, then I feel like somebody else should do it and crush it, you know? But like,
See, I love that you have done some acting roles. Like, I think that's, for me, something that I've been intrigued by. Might just one day throw it out there, but still trying to learn the craft behind the scenes. But you know, the acting element, Tarantino said it. Tarantino's my boy. Like, he learned about filmmaking through his acting classes, and as much as he wanted to be an actor, he said, "Thank God I went to the acting classes because it's made me who I am today." Right? How to communicate with actors, and how the set functions and things like that. So, yeah, man, it's an interesting dynamic, man, being on set. What do you miss most about it, man? Just
about
like,
being on set,
yeah, like the people, or just
the free
not
food to be
the
real,
free
but
food, right?
no, I'm
Yeah.
kidding.
No, I know what you
Yeah.
mean. Yeah. If the craft services are good, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
you kidding me, man? They have to be. No, I'm
they
kidding.
have to be.
I
No.
mean, no, the thing I miss the most is like I want the idea of the sort of the unity of all these people gathering together to complete one sort of unified vision,
Hmm.
and it's I love like sort of working with people when there's like such a clear, this is what we have to do and we're all on board to do it, you know?
Yeah. It's do you have any stories, like, anything, anytimes? I'm sure things have gotten out of hand, and you know things haven't worked out, whatever, on set, right? When craft
Uh
services when craft services aren't delivered.
no craft services, that's a huge problem. Yeah. I mean, no, I mean, yeah, there's all kinds of things that can go wrong, whether or not it's like you miss your shooting days, like you miss your day, you don't make your day, you don't get enough shots, right?
Right, yeah, that's
So you're
the
behind.
I experienced that on the short film I was discussing earlier, my first one there. Reshoots, like, people throw that out there, but reshoots are necessary if needed to be done. I went back to the footage, and I was like, we got to reshoot the ending scene. Out of all scenes, it was the ending scene, like the climactic scene,
Yeah.
because it was poorly lit. It was just dark. We lost our natural light, and yeah, man, it's you guys just bite the bullet. If everyone's on the same team, if everyone, like, sees the same vision, you just gotta say, yeah, pack it up, let's do it. And credit to the people I worked with that they made it possible to reshoot. So yeah, man. And funny
Indeed.
enough, with the craft services, I just want to mention Spike Lee. Like I do these master classes, right? And I did one
Right.
with Spike Lee, and he made me laugh. But he told it like deadpan, like straight. He was like, "Well, first thing you got to worry about when you're creating a set, because he was talking about like independent filmmakers, right? Like, how do you start?" He's like, "When you have a set, when you have a team, he's like, first thing you got to worry about is that they're fed. Because if they're not fed, they're not gonna fucking work.
It's true, man.
You know what I mean? They're
It's
not gonna want
true.
to work, right? So
It's 100% true. It
I
sounds like the
was
biggest joke ever, but it's literally the most
some
like,
people
and you'd be
used
shocked how many people don't like. They're like, oh, they'll just bring food. I'm like, since when? No,
no,
they're not even
no,
being paid, man. You gotta give them food. Like, come on,
no,
you know?
no. I've been lucky, fortunate where I've been on set where they just order pizza, like let's go for the pizza, whatever. But if that food, if you don't pay your crew, your actors, it's ludicrous. Like it's suicide. Don't do that.
Yeah, it's
And
especially
yeah,
if you're not paying them, you gotta feed them
yeah,
meals. Like,
exactly. If you're not exactly, very good point. If you're not paying them, that's for sure. You better not even hesitate. But even if you are, I would still like food. I'm speaking for someone that I get hangry. I get irritated on set. Gotta have that energy bar in my back pocket.
buddy, buddy.
Right,
I've seen some great craft setups, and I've seen some rather horrific craft setups, and
right.
they're all interesting. They're all something. So
Eric's not interested in the vegan craft table.
me, no, man. It's like, yeah,
He just
I
wants
only
all you
eat
can eat
protein
barbecue.
every 3 hours. No, I'm kidding.
I'm
But
just
it's
yeah.
shocking some of the dietary restrictions that you can get with
Yeah,
these
yeah,
things.
of course. Well, let's see what happens, man, with this COVID and craft services in general. Like, I'm sure things will inevitably things will be better, but yeah, I'm just
Well,
curious, like, how it's going to be. I mean, just how things are going to be planned out, how sets are going to be, how people are going
yeah,
to
I mean,
feel
I'm like
comfortable.
right now, dude. Right now they're doing like you have to have every meal packaged like individually,
Oh shit,
and like
yeah.
usually on film sets there's like craft and then there's catered meals, right? And craft is just like a big ass, table full of like, there's, like a fruit bowl, bread, cereals, like peanut butter, like just the basics to
Hmm.
get by. Granola bars, like grab a granola bar, do what you need to
I'd
do,
probably do
get your
that, like
coffee.
granola bar. Yeah, like something, anything that's packaged or easy to munch on.
That's open all day, right? You can
Yeah,
just like if you're hungry, go get something and get back to work is the
exactly.
vibe, right?
And then if you do lunches, I would advise, you don't order like Chinese and things that you would have to like put onto your plate. Sandwiches, wrap them up. Like everyone gets a sandwich. Who ordered mortadella on the rye? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
dude.
Speaking of sandwiches,
Oh no, here we go. Here we go.
before we
I had
go.
one the other day, dude. I had one the other day. We're gonna plug
Okay.
them or what?
Yeah, we're gonna plug them. All right. Number one, California sandwiches.
California
When me and
sandwiches, dude.
Eric first started doing these talks, these catch-ups, he was rocking a California sandwich shirt, but he was more amazed that I picked it up.
Dude,
Because
it's like a niche thing. It's a religion, but it's
I
you gotta
love,
be,
yeah,
yeah,
I loved that shirt, bro. I think I was more amazed that like someone owned it because I was just remember I asked him like, how did you get it? Because I don't remember them selling it at the store.
right. Yeah.
How did you get it? It was a gift, you said? It was
Yeah,
your
I
mom.
got it for my mom got it for me.
That's crazy, man. I gotta look into that because there's nothing like rocking your favorite sandwich shop. Yeah.
Especially a
And it was
California
faded. It
sandwich,
was like
man. Like
vintage
a
and stuff. Like right now,
an Italian sandwich.
I should point out like I'm just wearing like a typical like top. It says King Arthur when I did promotions for Warner Brothers. Probably should have dressed
Right.
up. Forgot my hoodie today, my '94 hoodie, but that'll be another time. But yeah, that shirt, man. I love that it was faded. I love that it was rustic, vintage. It was a vintage shirt. So you're gonna have to show the audience whenever we do these again. Maybe next time. What that shirt's all about.
I would love to, dude. You should have let me know beforehand. Next time I'll
Should
wear
let
it
you
for
know next
sure.
time. And what's the other sandwich shop? Oh
The
yeah,
one you,
Vegan Cena Meats, bro.
dude.
That
It's
did
in
you
my
try it
it's in
out?
my notes on my phone. I haven't
Oh, it's
been
in your
yet.
notes.
No.
It's in your notes. I'm really happy though. You did try out the Maple location, that Vaughn area I was talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really happy you checked it out because I thought you were gonna check it out, like, to be honest, later, like after the pandemic, whatever. Like, oh yeah, I'll check
That's
it
no
out.
fun.
And you said no, like I was in the area and I had to check it out, and it was good. It was good. Another one I would recommend is Via
Okay.
Panini.
Okay.
Via Panini, yeah, it's same area.
Okay.
Um,
Same style of food, like Italian
Same style of
sandwiches and
exactly.
yeah.
So it's only sandwiches, but it's not more like it's in Italian we say casalinga, like it's very homemade, very
Right.
doesn't feel like it's, you know what I mean, mass, even California sandwiches, I should say, they're like homemade sandwiches, but it's just so like there's like a nonna in the back making them, like a grandmother.
Right.
And I would recommend, yeah, the veal for that. Your veal's go to, right, for you when you go to California? Yeah, veal.
Veal,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Don't
Yeah,
mess
you gotta
around. Don't
get the
mess around.
veal,
Yeah,
man.
right. Do you put any condiments? Are
What are
you a
you even
mushroom?
saying? What are you even saying?
I'm not making any sense, bro. Are you a do you put any condiments? You put like mushrooms and or do you just
I
keep
do the
it
hot peppers. That's usually what I
hot
go in for.
peppers? Okay.
Yeah.
This guy, this guy's the best. All right,
What
so he
is
puts
that?
the
What you
hot
get? What do
pepper.
you get?
That's
What do you get?
100%. 100%. I put the hot peppers. Sometimes I put the mushrooms.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna. I wanted to, like we're those kind of guy where it's like don't mess with the veal. You know, people put like lettuce, tomato. It's like no, 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 no.
No.
Don't
Yeah.
mess with that. Put that shit on top. Put that on another sandwich. Have you ever tried those fries? Those fries are deadly. Those fries are
From
deadly.
California sandwiches.
Yeah, those fries are
Never.
deadly.
Are they
Never?
great?
Yeah, they're deadly though. Because I know you're on a regimen.
Yeah, I could fit into French fries.
No,
God,
no,
yes,
no,
yeah.
no. But they're deadly. They're deadly. Like you take them and you're like, yeah, yeah, these are fried. You know, when you just take that bite and you're like, yeah, they fried them. You know,
It
nice
tastes
and
like
crispy, big
yeah.
crunch. Yeah, but it's worth it, man. It's worth it. You gotta live a little. You gotta live a little. And yeah, how is the because me and you know, same thing. When we connected, we were both talking about our own like little fitness path, trying to get
Yeah,
back on
absolutely.
track. How's it going for you, man?
Yeah, man. It's
Yeah,
it's good.
seeing some improvement.
Yeah, I guess for the audience,
Hmm.
I shot a film, summer 2019. I lost a bunch of weight, like
Nice.
35 pounds, something like that. And so the past sort of year and a half has been a journey of gaining that weight back. And
Hmm.
that's sort of what's been up right now. So yeah,
Nice. Yeah. For me, I told you I gained 20 pounds over the summer and then I had to lose it in the fall. So
right.
I'm really happy about that. I check every morning to make sure that I'm not slipping.
Yeah.
And so
Are
far
you
so
still doing the
good.
fasting thing?
I'm steady. Yeah, no, I still do the intermittent fasting, but
Oh, yeah.
I noticed my weight plateauing, which was a given.
Okay.
They warned me, right? They said after, you know, you even said it too. You said after a while, your body just gets used to it, right? What you're doing, how much you're eating, and your exercises. So I'm happy I lost about 20 pounds, about 172, 173. If I could lose more if I wanted to, I don't want to because I don't want to risk getting sick. And I think it's just a matter of building more muscle mass. So I still do my core exercises, but I'm waiting, or at least I'm hoping once, you know, my basement improves, I can get more equipment or at least the gym. I don't know what's going on there. I do miss the gym because it was just a way out. Sometimes I get out of the house, you know, just, you know what I mean? Right. You miss it too. The
Yeah,
equipment.
you and I had the same problem with the canceling our Good Life
Oh
stuff too,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
With the
that's
Good
right.
Life
Yeah.
thing.
Let's bring that up for the audience in case they're still trying to get their cancellation.
Dude,
Yeah. So Eric and I, okay, we're
gotta
trying to
love Good Life. Let's preface with that.
let's I love that's Eric's line. Gotta love them. But let's just talk about their flaws. Right? But it's true, you
Yeah,
gotta love them.
before we crush them here, let's at least be
Or
like, for the record, before a pandemic, Good Life was a good or great place, depending on who you are. But
before we crush them. Um yeah, when this pandemic happened, when things started opening up, me and Eric and I both agreed, right? We just did not feel comfortable going there. I think it's the worst place, no matter unless it's herd immunity and everyone's fine and whatever. I still would not go back, period, because people are sweating left and right, and you know droplets travel through the air. You don't want to get into it. There was a spin class. I don't know if you heard. 88 people. This was way back, but 88 people in one class got infected because one person
really,
had it, and it makes sense, right? That whole class breathing in all that vapor. So
have you ever done a spin class,
no,
dude?
but it looks a lot of fun, man.
Dude,
It looks a
it's
lot of
fun,
fun.
but it's horrific. I went to a Soul Cycle class in Chicago one time, and I was like I went with my cousin, she was like, I gotta go to my fitness class. And I was like, I do fitness, I could come. And she's like, really? You want to come? And I was like, yeah, I mean, of course, dude. And it was like an hour and a half. It was like
But does the time, I
crazy.
feel like the time would fly. Like, do you feel the time dragging on? Because you're like in a group, you know what I mean? Like back to the collaboration, like everyone's just in the
It's
same mission. Yeah.
at the beginning, you're like, oh my goodness me. But I guess once you sort of get through that threshold of, like, it's sort of like, I guess, a run, once you sort of like get like past that initial break in your breath, then, it sort of becomes steady and things start to move, quicker for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
man. I'm definitely gonna, again, things get better. I'll definitely check that out. Because I love cardio. Cardio is my favorite form of exercise, more than weights. I just love, like the sweat, just that getting your heart rate up. My brain, my mind feels much more clear. Seeing all those endorphins, get the dopamine up. I
right.
was mentioning that in my corner talks video coming up, like morning routine, right? And that's one of them. Just get the heart rate going. I don't care how you do it. Just get that heart rate going when you wake up, because it just wakes you up, gets you pumped for the day. Um, stretching is a great way. To just loosen your joints, get your muscles flexed. So
Absolutely.
yeah, man, it's oh yeah. So back to the good life. Just throw it before people we lose people on this. The
Yeah.
good life, we were trying to cancel it, and I guess everyone's trying to pay their bills, trying to pay the mortgage. They did not want to let us go, and I had to send in a request
Me too.
on my profile. Then I had to call in. Then I had to send an email,
Me too.
and the best
Yeah.
they could do is say, "Yeah, we hate to lose you, but keep in mind." I swear they wrote this. They're like, "Keep in mind that prices will go up when things settle down." Like it was something stupid like that, and I was just like laughing, like, "Okay, no problem."
I will pay the $100
Yeah,
readmission fee
but
when
you
COVID is over. Like,
let's be honest. I doubt it's going to be double the price if they want people back, and they got to make up for the money they lost in the last 2 years.
it's so
like,
true, dude. It's so true.
like, hey, they probably will, but I think the only thing that's keeping them around is like that is with the lockdown. They got a lot of corporate deals, right? They got a lot of corporate investment. When I worked at Bell, huge discount, huge discount, going with them. So they got a lot of bulk prices. But yeah, that was just a funny story, man. That was just a funny story, and we both had the same experience. And
Exactly the same problems.
I
I
remember
know.
even
Yeah.
give you advice. You're like, "Yo, how did you cancel? Because I'm trying at this moment." And I'm like, let me tell you what you do." I couldn't even get them on the phone. Like that's how desperate they were. Like they probably
Me
had their
too, dude.
manager. Probably like,
Me
don't pick up
too.
that phone. Don't pick up. um, it's sad, but it was necessary. Like I don't know why they thought people weren't gonna quit. Um,
I got it. Like, I called, like, I eventually got through on the phone, and the guy was like, "Oh, do this, this, and this, and I'll email you next week." And he didn't email me.
yeah, he did on
And then I
purpose to
called back,
divert you.
but I called back in like a couple of weeks later, and I was like, "Dude, this person didn't email me." And they were like, "Oh, that person just got fired." And I was like, "Great."
They probably had too many turnovers under their name.
I
They're
guess, man. I
sending,
guess that's what it
right? Because
was,
if
my
they tell
friend.
them all you have to do is click this button, they'll look at their sheet. Oh, look, Eric has
Yeah,
50, you know, clients that left. Was responsible for 50 people leaving.
go on, get him out of here. That's yeah.
Anyway, man, it's been a lot of fun talking to you. Always great catching up. Plan to do more of these. I find you a great uh, person that has a lot of knowledge of film and a lot of experience, and I love to learn more from you. And I hope I can share the same for you and the audience. And yeah, man, it's if you have anything to say,
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. I think it's great that
yeah,
you're doing this. Looking forward to continuing, to be a part of it in whatever way you need. And
of course.
yeah, it's
Thank
been
you.
a great conversation as always. Yeah.
It's a great platform, man, to share all our ideas, to connect with other people that are creative. Because I know there's a lot more of us out there, a lot of filmmakers, a lot of people that are dying to tell their story, whether it's personal, whether it's creatively through film. So I'm really happy to do this with you, and I'm looking forward to more. All right.
Absolutely, man. Thanks again.
All right. Take care, man, and have a great night.